Okay, what we have here is the brand new Torker 20-inch Eddy King. This is the Pro model, not the XL, not the XXL. The Pro model only has 15 that were produced. And a huge thank you to Bill Ryan at Torker for this, because I've been wanting to build another Torker ever since the relaunch of Torker, I don't know, maybe a year ago. They did come out with a 20-inch Eddy King that I built, and it was a rad bike. But there were some changes that I would have liked to see, and guess what? They did those changes, and this bike now is pure BMX perfection. That other bike had things that were, I don't know, different from the normal BMX bikes back then, but they were changes that were trying to capture an era of time when Eddy raced. But it didn't really capture the current situation of old school nostalgic builds. Meaning the other one had a road race headset, a tapered fork tube, and a few other little things that they now changed to make this perfect, era correct 80s and adaptable to 80s BMX parts. We'll talk about that in depth in a minute, but I want to unveil the brand new 20-inch Eddy King Torker Gen II. Okay, without further ado, let me show you this beautiful bike. I was so happy when it came and so appreciative and thankful to the team over there at Torker to give me one of these beautiful chrome Torker frames. And today we're going to do a complete build on this. It has a 1-inch threaded fork, not tapered, and will accommodate a 21.1 stem. Beautiful chrome background decals, 1-inch seat post, Euro threaded bottom bracket, and side pull brakes. Beefier dropouts, beefier tubing, but still that old school look, but much stronger than the originals. And I had an original. I had a 1979 Eddy King Torker, and I'm going to show it to you right here. My 1979 Eddy King Torker was very similar in appearance, but the tubing back then was very small in diameter, so they beefed it up. They made it a little bit stronger. The Pro model, I believe, and I'm going to correct it at the bottom if I'm wrong, just going off memory, is a 20.5-inch top tube. The XL and the XXL will be a little bit longer, but I wanted to get the smaller, more age-appropriate size BMX bike. Because this build, I'm using some old school parts, some throwback nostalgic parts, and some repop parts. And a very special Torker part that is now available for these bikes. So I'm going to show you all that in a moment. I just wanted to unveil the frame and fork. Now let's go to the table and show you all the parts. That's right, all the parts. This bike's being built in this video. Let's check them out. All right, I wanted to pull this out separately because it is a work of art. The Torker 6-bolt stem, 21.1 shaft. This is an absolute beautiful piece, anodized in gold, comes in black and I believe some other colors. You'll have to check the website for that, but this is the perfect complementary old school looking Torker piece for this beautiful Torker build. I'm very excited about this. God, look at how beautiful that is. So that's going to be going on here. Let me show you what else is going on this bike. First things first, Skyway graphites, black with the gold hub, sealed bearings, and the Competition 3 yellow label tires. That's right, I've been hanging on to these for this build. So this is going on the bike along with all of this. We'll start over here. Since you know I have Skyways, we're using some Skyway brake pads, Redline Flight cranks, a Sugino crown, chain ring. We are using these foot jaws. So these are the MKS BM10s, I believe. Yeah, there we go. So these are a little bit different than the MKS BM7s. Look at the teeth on these monsters. So I decided to go with those. Black and nickel chain, and we'll talk about that in a minute. A straight seat post, the black Euro bottom bracket, black headset, black die-comp seat post clamp, gold die-comp and MX1000 rear and front brakes, black brake cables, ODI mushroom grips. I already showed you that beautiful stem. Some BMX 9-inch Pro bars, a flow plate, and a Cashamax seat with the gold lettering. Even the die-comp brake cables have gold lettering. It's the little details. I talk about it all the time. So here is the table full of parts for the build for this beautiful bike. And one thing I want to point out is if you got the EK, I believe these are thrown in. Look at that. Radical Rick and Supercross racing elbow to elbow. These decals were a great extra thrown in the box. Thank you, Bill Ryan, for that, because you know I'm a huge Radical Rick fan, and these will be added to the collection. All right, let's give this frame and fork a once over before we bring it over there and start building it. And you can see the beautiful threads, the beautiful chrome, the old school decal that overlaps the weld. That's on purpose. It's not an oversized decal on accident. This is the way they were. The double gusset. I love this thing so much. Look at those dropouts. Absolutely stunning. Great old school decals. And I was given a second set of decals that have the lightning bolt through the Torker, but I think I'm going to remain with those decals. The top tubes, the seat mast, the Euro bottom bracket, this support piece here, which is going to add a lot of strength to the bike, and then these dropouts. Look at the size of these. I said this is one of only 15 in the Pro model, and mine is serial number 5. Okay, I hope you know how pumped I am to build this bike. I've always loved Torkers. Growing up, my friend Paul had a Torker, and that's why I've built a couple in the past, because it reminds me of a childhood memory, and that's what these bikes are all about. Bringing back these nostalgic feelings, these memories. Did you know anyone on a Torker? If so, comment down below. Who was it? Was it your best friend? Was it a guy at school that parked it in the bike rack and you drool over it? Was it somebody on the track? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear the story about it. Paul was a good guy, lived around the corner from my best friend. We all kind of rode together. I have no idea what happened to the dude. I have no idea where he's at today, but I remember that Torker and I will never forget it. And now this one, I'm adding to my personal collection because I'm building this the exact way that I would build my dream Torker, and we're doing that today. So building memories, making dreams happen right here at Rad BMX Builds. Thanks to Torker, let's get to building. Okay, let's talk about stem and stem placement. When you're dealing with a quill, you do not want the stem to stick too high up out of the headset. You want a minimum amount of gap, if any. You don't want this thing stretched out to where you're showing that quill too much, because it is a weak point where you don't want that to come out. So make sure you minimize the amount of height from the headset to the bottom of the stem. Okay, next, stem bolts. You're going to want to, just like on a car, tighten them evenly so you have the same amount of gap on both sides. So you don't want to cinch down one side, then cinch down the other. Carefully just take your time working back and forth to get it evenly done. Next, when dealing with a seat post clamp that is double bolt like this, first make sure it's centered on the bike and make sure it's flush on the top. And just like the stem, tighten one, tighten the other so those gaps are the same. Now, Euro bottom brackets seem real easy. Just put them in there and thread them. Well, the threads are very, very fine, so you got to be very careful when dealing with a Euro bottom bracket so you don't cross thread them as you thread them onto the bike. Make sure you apply some grease to the threads. Try it fingers first and just get it started, and then use the right size wrench to tighten it down. All right, so here's where we're at so far. Hard parts are done. Now we're just gonna put on some brakes, and then we'll flip it over, do the drivetrain, and then the wheels. So we're getting there. Hard parts finished. All the bearing cups and everything are in place. Bars, seat, and now we move on to all the other stuff. All right, another thing, we're putting a front brake on here, and we're using the Dicomp MX 1000. And if you look at the bolt that comes on that, it is for the rear setup, but they always include a longer bolt for the front brake if you want to do that. And it's longer so it can go through the thickness of the forks versus just the rear brake bridge, whatever you want to call it, which is much thinner. So you're going to have to just basically take off that crown nut, carefully take things off. And what I do is I place them in order, and then when I put the longer bolt on, I just reverse that order and put it back together. It's very easy. So we're going to swap out this rear brake setup and turn it into a front brake setup by just swapping out the bolt that comes in all of these brakes anyway, giving you that option to run front or rear brake. This is not a freestyle setup, so the brake cable will drop straight down into it, not up through the fork and around and through the bottom. So this is set up to be a rear or front brake, but only top cable fed, which is fine for a race bike, which is what we're building. So we'll swap this out, we'll install the brakes, no problem. Okay, and there it is, the 20-inch Torker Eddie King Pro. And like I said in the beginning of the video, these bikes are very limited in numbers. I have no idea how many are available at the time you're watching this. Go over to torkerracing.com and you can find bikes, parts, merch, and more at torkerracing.com. A huge thank you to Bill Ryan again at Torker for trusting me to build essentially one of my bikes that I've wanted forever, a grail bike, a trophy bike, a bike for the collection. And no, this is not for sale. Go get your own at torkerracing.com. Build it, ride it, and enjoy it. This one's for me. I'm going to ride it, enjoy it, and I'm very happy and thankful that it's now in my collection. Okay, thanks again for watching these videos. Hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and as always, stay rad.